So, power and influence in Nigeria, who has it, who doesn't, who lives under it, and who is trying to take it. Navigating Nigeria's political landscape today increasingly comes down to one hard truth. If you don't control a sphere of influence, then you are operating inside someone else's. Right now, that dominant sphere is shaped by a renewed might is right logic, firmly controlled by the APC. Against that backdrop, the opposition ADC-led coalition is attempting something more incremental, building not immediate power, but power structures, alliances, platforms, and networks that it hopes will translate into votes, influence, and eventually authority. Well, that effort unfolds in the shadow of an assertive ruling party and a president who appears to be consolidating a political empire, underscored by near daily headlines of defections into the APC's expanding orbit. So what does this moment say about the true state of opposition politics in Nigeria today? Are we witnessing strategic realignment, political survival, or the slow narrowing of democratic competition? Well, one man who is throwing his leverage into that political fray is the lawyer and former Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, who served 2 terms in the House of Representatives. He's formally declared his interest in contesting the 2027 presidential election on the platform of the ADC. And Mr. Nwajuba joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Good evening, Charles, and good evening, viewers.
So why you and why now?
This is exactly when it should be. I declared to run for this office because we've come into 2026. The ADC is ready. The coalition has come into the ADC, and everybody, the party is now set. The next is not a social club, it's a political party. So what political parties do is run for elections. And that's the first order of business this year. So anybody who is serious about bringing in people into the fold, because the party has now commenced mass registration around the country, and this is the time to remind all of our supporters and people who support you, who want a change in this madness that is going on now called governance. Anybody who is remotely interested needs to come with the entire team. And this is the time to remind everybody that if you really want some sort of change, if you really want to get Nigeria working again, if you really want to stop this shenanigan, crass larceny that is operating in the country at the moment, this is the time to move yourselves into a party. We have an APC that is collating governors, is collating elected representatives, collating those who have been made because they want to sequester the national patrimony. Now, our job is to sensitize our people and say, well, this is wrong. And the best way to do it is to have all these so-called people who may be interested in ruling the country to come together. And as we've all gathered at the ADC, it is important that everybody tells his constituency that I am interested in this seat, and this is where I belong, and this is what everybody needs to do. If you want, some people have been complaining that all the faces they see maybe are old throwbacks, or sorry, and they want to see somebody who has the 3 E's, the experience, the education, and the energy. And you get all of that mixed up in this some strength of wisdom and some strength of age, bringing them together, culminating in a central figure, something that works, just slightly below 60, and everybody is willing to buy on that same. So if you're a young person, the youths of Nigeria, and this is your aspiration, this is where you want to go, you want to change Nigeria, you want to see Nigeria work, you want to see Nigeria that does not need to be doing bala blue and gala blue, this is the time. And so it's immediately 2026 unfolded. It has become our time to say to Nigerians, hey, that job is about to start.
Nevertheless, you're entering an ADC field that's already crowded with the heavy political, let me call it, machinery of several big wig aspirants. So what makes you think you can break through in such a crowded field? Or is this move by you some kind of spoiler strategy?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, I don't consider anybody any political heavyweight right now, because everybody is like who has just abandoned his own, log wherever he was to come to this new field. But that recognizes that there are very important men and women who are in ADC right now. Very important people who've had public office, who've had public trust, people who have been celebrated, the likes of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I mean, when he ran the privatization scheme in Nigeria, it was decent. When other people took it over, it wasn't. So you can see the difference. It's like daylight. So there are people like that you can trust. There are people like my friend, my brother Rotimi Amechi, the former governor of Rivers State, who was with us in cabinet. There's my elder brother, Peter Obi, who has just joined us in October, the end of December. He had been part of the coalition all along, and he was quite instrumental. So you see, we as young persons backed him really in 2023, and we felt that he was clearly a candidate for Labour. But because the party needs all shades of ideas, all shades of people, all of us need to come. And I think more persons should express interest in this. Somebody like Dele Momodu has just joined. He was an aspirant in the PDP last election. He's a heavyweight. These are heavy hitters from all around. My colleague and brother El Rufai is in the party because he's the one, he's a master brain. He does a lot of work and everything. So we have all kinds of persons, everybody. But you get people that you trust, people you are extremely confident with. Somebody like Rauf Aragbeshola,
right,
former governor of Osun State, is a man you can trust without any blink. I don't know whether his social dimensions are beyond this. So there are many people. Well, but what you need to do, I don't want to break through the field. I just want to be able to bring in more substance of persons, younger elements, younger persons. The future belongs to us.
Right. But I mean, it sounds like you would consider sort of stepping aside or forming alliances if another opposition candidate in the ADC is better positioned to defeat the ruling party.
That's the essence of politics. I'm not a political activist. I'm a politician. We do this not for fun. We do this for the purpose of running a government and for the purpose of getting our people's lives working better. We see the gaps that we experience in the country. This Malay we call a government who will today remove subsidy, and the next morning you take a loan and then use it to buy a yacht, and you use it to renovate a VP house that is not lived in. You use it to go and travel. You buy you go to France. This party business. This is not government. This is some sort of a Fletcher government. How you call a cartel? Like some sort of drug cartel. This is how they run. And so today in the morning, I was listening to my brother and friend Dari speaking at the Daily
Sunday Dari,
the SHA. And he said we should join him or join others to support this. I said, support the suffering, support the armed robbery, support the cutting away. You get a company a loan around this country. There are things that the government has done that are actually useful. I mean, the Badagry Sokoto axis is a very key component. If he had simply told Bua, whom I think has done an excellent job of going to build a cement factory in Sokoto. If you had simply told Bua, we want this cement out of this place working, you don't need to award it to another country, a contract, and then they scoop up billions just because you've done something that is working.
Yeah, but
the spirit behind lying and thieving, the thievery is grand larceny.
Yeah, but we're hearing of a lot of thievery in the government that you were part of. And to be fair, there are allegations.
Yeah.
Nobody's been found guilty yet.
Since Nigeria started in
Nevertheless,
the first letter that Awolowo got was the letter saying Nigerians are thieving.
Nevertheless,
I'm not about thieving.
No,
I'm
I
just saying
understand
that
this is
grand larceny.
You're making allegations as well. So, and some of the people who served in the same cabinet that you
we are not making allegations. I'm saying that right now, nobody is talking about them. I'm not talking about thievery. I'm talking larceny. Right. I'm talking about gross incompetence. This is the first time in Nigeria's history that the three budgets have been merged and we are asked to roll.
Okay, let me ask you this.
This is not the government.
Let me ask you this, because I mean, you served as Minister of State for Education. Education clearly central to your aspiration. You were, as I said, Minister of Education in the previous administration, yet Nigeria's education sector has continued to struggle, not just under your administration, but under multiple administrations. What did you do differently when you were minister? Because obviously, whatever it is you did could not have been that transformative. Because, I mean, we're still in the rut that we're in with education in this country.
Thank you very much. I joined the ministry. First, I had served as chairman of TED Fund before I went back to the House of Representatives.
That's
as
the
chairman,
Tertiary Education Fund.
The
Yeah.
first thing that happened with TED Fund, and I want to show you two letters. One letter from 2014 and one letter from 2016. And you see the transparency that we brought to it. In no university had hit $500 million before we came. But when I became chairman of TED Fund, because I'll probably be only Igbo man ever appointed TED Fund chairman, and even for the short period, I said, what does the law say? Because what Buhari asked me was, what does the law say? Malam Adamu, my elder brother, who is the Minister of Education, said, what does the law say? And I go back to the law. I said, well, the office of the chairman, which was like a warehouse for $240 billion naira for people to do politics or win elections, was kept in the office of the chairman. And I walked in there and I said, we must disburse this to the universities. So I'll show you a 2014 letter of allocation, and I'll show you a 2017 letter of allocation or 2016 letter of allocation for each of these universities. And we moved straight to 1 billion for the federal universities. It was unprecedented. They thought the money didn't exist, but I said, this is the first step to transform. We need to move power back to the universities. Let them take the decisions about how to run their establishments. Now, whether all the universities did them right is a second question. That I may not be able to answer on behalf of all the vice chancellors that served. But I do know that my responsibility and the responsibility that Buhari gave us and all each of them was discharged to the letter of the law in the 211 formation. It was on that score and on that premise that I moved back to the National Assembly. The intention then was to help mold the National Assembly by running for speaker. And members in the National Assembly told me that you can't be both ancient and modern. You had come to National Assembly in 1999 and had started even as way back as 1992 when I started. And they said, after 1999, you were part of the big group that tried to impeach Obasanjo. And because we were intent then that you must follow the law, and Obasanjo was intent not to follow the law. And we were the group that said this was not right. And everybody is now seeing the consequences of what I told them in 1999. That this leadership you've conferred on governors and making everybody a hegemony of themselves is going to hurt us and that's why he changed 5 Senate presidents, changed 5 party chairmen, and this madness we have now. That was what they told me in 2019 when I returned. That you have served before and you're coming back to rule over us. We will not accept you as speaker. So I was in the house for 3 months, and then Buhari invited me to cabinet. When he invited me, I joined the cabinet in August. We reviewed everything that had been done in the curriculum of Nigeria. Every complaint that we had the school history, we had done all of that. All those changes were brought back. We instituted real reforms. Malam Adamu had already commissioned a committee on the matter, made up of Professor Rashid, the PAMSEC then Echono. Most of them, they did excellent work. My work was to review it. We engaged all the universities and all the schools in Nigeria at the time. We grew the school numbers. We took out schools from children from out of school children from 13 million back to 10 million. And people 2 days ago, I went to see the governor of Adamawa State, and he was with the governor of Oyo State. And the first thing he remarked, he said, I remember you. I said, what? He said, you helped my state, Adamawa State. We got a lot of resources to put people. So everybody keeps remembering what we did. A lot of them do remember it. And that is a fact.
Well, you know, the problem with this thing is and the problem always in Nigeria is the availability of statistics. If you go to the international agencies, they'll say to you that out-of-school children driven by poverty, increasing poverty, and all the rest of it has been getting worse. You're saying that you improved it under your time. We'll leave it for the moment.
We reduced the number,
right.
But I can tell you that more children have been born since then. One of them, more children have then become of school age. And if you go to the UNESCO site, of Nigeria's UNESCO site, you see the total numbers as they tally up. Now, most of the children, there are 2 categories. Some of them are out of school because they can't afford it.
Right.
And this is an aberration because we are running a UBEC program, a Universal Basic Education Commission program, which means that no child actually should pay. There's
Anyway, it's an area of people will always say that when you're in government and people put these figures to you, you try and, defend yourselves. The minute you come out of government, you start to lash out at whatever government there is.
I admitted these figures.
That is
I
in
attacked
power.
the figures.
But let me ask you this.
Everybody kept wondering why I was always in every state in Nigeria. Why was I doing that?
Let me ask you this, because we're running out of time. Nigeria, clearly, one of the things you mentioned at the outset was the economy. Nigeria is under severe strain. Nobody can deny that. What difficult economic decision are you prepared to take if you were to get into office, or your party was to get into office, that may be unpopular but necessary?
Right now, the decisions we took before we left government, Buhari had wanted to support the Dangote refinery, and Alhaji Dangote really explained this whole on TV a few months ago. He said, look, currently, before Dangote refinery started, he was 46% of Nigeria's foreign exchange demand is for energy. All right? So the three jobs a country must do is FFF. Feed it, fuel it, and fight for it. On these three counts, Buhari attempted to do one, feed it. That was why we survived COVID. All of that work has been reversed. We took 2 fertilizer plants and made them 85. Working in conjunction with the immediate past Minister of Defense, then Governor of Jigawa State. He was instrumental in bringing the fertilizer revolution. Today in Nigeria, a bag of fertilizer is at 60,000 naira, and a bag of corn is at 20,000 naira. This is a misnomer. The country, the northern Nigeria is bleeding. All of us who are farmers are bleeding because there's a complete mismatch. You go to fueling it. Buhari wanted the refinery to start first. And that was why they made the 2 billion, they brought it to council, and they made a 2 billion investment in the Dangote refinery to get it working before June, when we said subsidies were going to be removed. So that at the exchange rate of 400 naira, Nigerians were going to buy fuel at 400. So that government will now give a rebate to its citizens and not subsidy to importers. That was not thought through. Nobody, as far as they were concerned, they are not running a social democratic, because the entire idea of leaving the APC is that we fashioned it. We wrote this constitution. It was designed as a social democratic, with social democratic context. This neo-capitalistic wickedness was never the thinking of Nigeria or of anybody when we are conceiving this party. Well, so you must return to how we must have the Nigerians be subsidized. Nigerians must be subsidized. That is the first job of government.
Yeah, but according to this government,
the chapter 2 of our constitution is clear that the primary purpose of government is the welfare and the security of the state.
But according to this government, the removal of subsidy, they had no choice.
Yes,
there was simply no subsidy. There was no money left to subsidize, so they had to remove subsidy.
Some of this is a lot of grammar. Subsidy was essentially an exchange rate regime matter. If you had fuel and if today the FX is at a lower rate, fuel will also be at a lower rate. And that is what Dangote has achieved. It is clear. Dangote has done a tremendous job of fueling the economy. What he has done has reduced the pressure on the FX. That's why FX is coming down. And even though government is saying that they have it at 1419, and is selling at 1,550 outside, I mean, the margin is small against the paramount. But Dangote is instrumental because the demand for energy is now met locally and in Naira. The idea and the agreements that were signed was that Dangote will be sold this crude, the 400,000 tons that Nigeria is supposedly exporting to, which caused the Desiani problems, is actually meant for Dangote to be able to refine it and sell it locally.
Okay, well, not to get into very complicated areas. I mean, I'm sure you know, and this is something that you have talked about, that public trust in government is dangerously low. Some say it was even lower during the previous administration of President Buhari, of which you were a part of the cabinet. Why should Nigerians trust a political system that continues to recycle familiar faces, including yourself?
Well, that's essentially, that is why we are here. And that is why it is good to declare early and state the matters early. in the Buhari administration, in the 8 years, we had a minimum of 80% budget performance, including the year of COVID. Budget performance. This is on record. This government has not performed one budget 30%. This is not a government. I keep repeating, this is not a government. Because this, if you are running a government, you can't be running a government where a National Assembly, the entire National Assembly, does not know whether there's an appropriation.
They blame your government.
There's nothing to blame
for everything.
If you didn't have a government, every time he says he made something bankrupt, we ask him, so where did you get the money for the new planes?
Anyway, look.
Each time you say you did this, we say, why did you get the money that you're joking about? Every 20 days he's out, and then he will wait on the 20th day so that he will meet, so that he will just avoid the 21st day. He would allow. This is not a comment.
I like that.
No, anyway, look, it's not. I'm not doing it. I'm saying read.
There are so many Nigerians. We're almost out of time, and it's good to talk with you. But there are so many Nigerians who are traumatized by insecurity. So many who've been pummeled by terrorists. So many others ravaged by poverty who are today living in appalling conditions. The proof for them in this great big razzmatazz of presidential ambition from the likes of you and others is whether it is going to make their lives any better.
We guarantee that it will make their lives better.
Are their conditions going to improve?
It will improve.
Is there going to be any light at the end of the tunnel? Because that's what you said in 2015 when the APC came.
No, you see, right now we're going to run.
And now you're saying it because you're out of power.
No, we're not doing that. I've always been in power. I've always been part of it, and I always make my contribution and keep firm. Now, what we're trying to do is run a collegiate government. Whoever gets this, whether I get it or somebody else gets it, we must run a collegiate. It has to be everybody on the table. Everybody. And that is one of the things that is attractive about the ADC. Nobody has claimed that he knows everything. No one person claims that he knows anything. All that we're trying to do is a suffix of ideas. Let us all fuel. Everybody is so interested. I love the idea that Atiku has even agreed to run. He's about the oldest of all of us. And he is leading from the front. We are already willing to queue with him. I love the idea that my brother, Mr. P, is with us. And anything P wants me to do, I will do. I mean, he's like an elder brother to me. It's the same thing with any other person. When we go to David Mark's office, I said, Mr. Chairman, is there something you would like us to do? This is important, but right? The attitude has changed. We have seen that with this Mr. Big Man stuff is taking us nowhere.
Right.
So this collegiate system is what ADC is proposing for the country. A college of leaders who must take responsibility. And all of us are going to be. So if they decide that I am the youngest, go and do the work. Then I know that I'm under their command.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to have to watch and see how that plays out. Right. But I want to thank you very much indeed. And your passion is actually quite infectious, let me put it that way. Chukwuemeka Nwajuba is a lawyer, former Minister of Education, Minister of State for Education, and he served 2 terms in the House of Representatives. And of course, he's declared his interest in contesting the 2027 presidential election on the platform of the ADC. Thank you very much indeed, and good to see you again.
Thank you very much.